I really wanted to give you guys a detailed rundown of each section of the course. So I've got some footage here from the different sections and me talking you through all the sections of the Ironman World Championship course here in St. George. Hi team, I've been here for a week now in St. George and have ridden the entire bike course and run the entire run course and swam on the swim course. So I really wanted to give you guys a detailed rundown of each section of the course. So I've got some footage here from the different sections and me talking you through all the sections of the Ironman World Championship course here in St. George. So the swim course is beautiful and it's also freezing. Swam the course this morning and they have the water temperature at the little check-in desk where you pay to enter, and it was 58 Fahrenheit or 14.4 degrees Celsius. So it was definitely very cold. It's a bit of a shock to the system, like when you first get in and the first 10 minutes. But I had a kind of hard session with some intervals and I found after about 20 minutes I felt fine. So I think the key is going to be getting in a good warm up on race day and keeping warm, like after you put your wetsuit on, keeping warm with socks and maybe shoes down at the swim start. But yeah, the warm-up really is going to be key. But the actual swim course itself is really straightforward and it's freaking beautiful out there, like very picturesque and beautiful views. There was a tiny little bit of chop this morning just with the wind, but absolutely nothing to worry about. It's going to be a pretty easy swim course to navigate, and nothing really that you need to look out for. The water is actually very, very clear and really, really clean and beautiful. This morning I swam at around 7, I think I got in the water, 7 or 7:15 a.m. and the sun was definitely in your eyes on the way out, so it made it a little bit harder to see the boys on the way out, and obviously fine, the sun was at my back on the way back in. I don't think it was terrible. It's nothing to be super stressed about, but just something to kind of bear in mind. I had tinted goggles on this morning and I was worried that they were going to be a bit too dark for that time of day, but they were actually fine, and I was kind of glad I had the tinted ones on with that sunlight in my eyes going out. Okay, so the first section coming out of the swim at Sand Hollow onto Southern Parkway, this is definitely the easiest section of the course. So it's mostly flat, slightly undulating in sections, huge big shoulder on the road, but I'm assuming that road's going to be closed on race day, and the road surface is pretty good. So yeah, out Southern Parkway and then turn around and coming back towards State Street. So that section there, just as you turn, just all that section before you turn left onto State Street is pretty straightforward. It's mostly just a slight descent on State Street there, heading back towards St. George. Road surface is fine. It's like a very main road, so again, I'm assuming that will be closed on race day. There's a big shoulder there anyway, but on race day I'm assuming the road will be closed and we'll have plenty of room there. So you come in on State Street, slight downhill for the first section, and then actually there's some little uphills as you come up towards to turn left onto Telegraph Street. So mostly flat or slightly downhill on State Street. Okay, after the State Street section, you turn left onto Telegraph Street. This section is up and down. Road surface is fine, but yeah, there's definitely some little short climbs going up towards St. George. But other than that, road surface is fine. And this section of the course is actually quite protected. It's like where there's buildings and all that kind of jazz, so it's not as exposed as the second part of the course. Okay, the next section is just this little section through town. We're turning right onto Washington Parkway. It's like a slight uphill. But yeah, this is kind of just a little section through like a residential and commercial sort of area. It's quite short. I think it only takes sort of 10 minutes to get through that area, 5 or 10 minutes to get through that area. But we turn right onto Red Hills Parkway. So again, the Red Hills Parkway is a really good road surface. This first bit is mostly sort of downhill, but then you actually sort of hit town where St. George is, and it goes to an uphill then, a little climb. It's nothing serious. It's not hard. Road surface is great up till you get to the intersection where it sort of joins on to Snow Canyon Parkway. Okay, then Snow Canyon Parkway, we go along that for quite a while. Road surface is perfect, really nice. It's slightly up and down, not climbing, just sort of like undulating, but still quite a fast section of the course. You go past the turnoff to Snow Canyon Road, so we keep continuing past that. Snow Canyon Parkway joins onto Center Street. So all of this is quite a fast section of the course until you sort of come to the end, or the very, very end. And we turn left to start heading out onto Old US Highway 91. Okay, this is where the course starts to get really spicy. Out of town, you turn right onto Old US Highway 91. The first 15 minutes of that road is especially atrocious. The road surface is really quite rough. Like literally you're in your TT bars and your arms are shaking for the first, especially so in the first 10 or 15 minutes. So road surface is not great. It's very exposed in this section, so depending what the wind's doing on the day, it's quite windy. About, I would say 15-20 minutes along that highway is when it starts to get quite undulating. No big climbs in the first section, but it's definitely very up and down. Some faster downhill sections and then some quite like pinchy little uphill sections, but nothing serious, just enough to sort of get you out of a rhythm and slow you down. And that combined with the road surface is not so great makes this section really tough. And then basically we veer off Old Highway 91 onto Gunlock Road. And that whole section, Gunlock Road, all the way through past the Gunlock Reservoir, that's all really up and down. So very undulating, not the best road surface through this whole part. I've ridden this part of the course quite a few times since I've arrived here, and one day I had like a block headwind going out this way, and then yesterday when I rode it I actually had a tailwind going out this way. My average speed the first time I rode it with a block headwind was 21 kilometers an hour, and then yesterday it was 30 kilometers an hour. So it's really going to depend what the wind's doing that day as to how difficult this section is. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty difficult when there's a headwind. You just feel like you're not moving. And it's that whole section from where you turn off onto Gunlock Road all the way through past the reservoir. Once you go past the reservoir, then there's quite a sharp little climb, nothing serious. Don't need to change cassette sizes or anything like that, but it's definitely a little rise of a few minutes that you have to grind your way up. There's actually 2 sort of little rises along that Gunlock Road that you kind of have to grind up for a couple of minutes. Definitely going to zap the legs. So that section there is really up and down and not a great road surface and very exposed to the conditions of the day. Also yesterday when I rode out there, it was about 30 degrees Celsius and it was quite hot. So all the way along Gunlock Road, and then there's like a sharp U-turn where you turn onto West Centre Street, and that's what I think they call the Wall, which is probably the second hardest climb, I guess, on this course. The rest of it I wouldn't say are climbs. They're more like hills that are over in a couple of minutes. But Snow Canyon and the Wall here are like actual climbs that take longer than a few minutes. The Wall, I think it's maybe 10 minutes, 10 or 12 minutes to get up this climb, maybe 10 minutes. Definitely yesterday I was in my easiest or smallest gear at about 55 RPM. So the first half of it, the first 5 minutes isn't too bad. But I'd say the last sort of 5 minutes is more difficult. And again, the first time I did it, I had a tailwind, so I didn't actually find it that difficult. And then yesterday, I climbed it twice with a headwind. And I was thinking, gosh, how was this so easy the other day? So I do think the wind's going to make a big difference as to how difficult that is. But I don't think that anyone needs to worry. Like, it's not a super difficult climb. It's just one that you've got to kind of grind up. Okay, then at the top of that climb, it's actually where you turn or you follow, once you get to the top of the Wall, and you follow West Centre Street all the way through to Vayo, like you see the pie shop on the corner. It's quite a big sort of intersection there. That section there is pretty good actually. Like, it's flat for a bit, a little bit up and down, but it's a pretty straightforward section, not too difficult. Then you turn right at the intersection in Vayo where the pie shop is. I think that's, I'm not sure of the road. So yeah, as you come into Vayo at the pie shop at the intersection there, we turn right onto Highway 18. And I'd say for the first maybe 15 minutes, maybe 15 minutes after you turn right onto Highway 18, it's actually uphill. It looks, when you're turning right there, it looks like it's going to be the start of the descent, but the first 15 minutes or so is actually still a slight uphill. It's on a very main road, a highway. The road surface is fine. But again, like, one day I've ridden that section with a block headwind. One day I've ridden it with a tailwind. Yesterday we had some crosswinds. Because it's quite high up, it's quite exposed to the wind and the weather. Yeah, as you're riding down Highway 18, eventually you come to the top of Snow Canyon Road, where the climb would end. And basically when you get to that, it's all downhill back into town. It's a pretty fast downhill, especially with a tailwind. Yesterday I had a headwind that wasn't as fast. You had to still kind of pedal to get the speed up. But if there's a tailwind, you literally can barely even pedal because it's quite a fast descent. It's on a highway, very good road surface. But yeah, I would suggest practicing that area if you're not confident sort of doing a fast descent in TT. And then at the end of the descent, we turn right back onto Snow Canyon Parkway. So we've done this section of the course before, and it takes maybe, 10 or 15 minutes of riding along Snow Canyon Parkway on that great road surface, like sort of through town, where we turn right onto Snow Canyon Drive or Snow Canyon Road to start going up this Snow Canyon climb, which is the last part of the course. And the Snow Canyon climb, I think from the very bottom where you turn off to the very top, is going to be anywhere between sort of 20 and 30 minutes, pushing at a relatively hard effort. The first half of the climb, I would say, is not difficult at all. There's actually sort of up and down sections. Obviously it's mostly uphill, but up and down sections, but slight uphills, and you're not in your easiest gear. But then I would say from half to sort of 3/4 of the way up definitely is a grind, and you're sort of in your easiest gear at 60 sort of RPM, pushing hard. But it's, again, I don't think anything to worry about. It's not a difficult climb at all. It's just one that you just got to put it in your smallest gear and sort of grind away. The thing with this climb, the most difficult thing about it is going to be that it happens at the very end of the race. So after we've already ridden about 160 kilometers, that's what's going to make it difficult. But if it's you're doing it standalone, it's really not that hard of a climb. Road surface in Snow Canyon State Park, or Snow Canyon Drive, is perfect. It's actually probably the best part of the entire course in terms of the road surface, and obviously it's quite beautiful. And then after the Snow Canyon climb, we turn right back onto highway number 18, do that fast part of the descent again. So it's really nice to sort of like push relatively hard up Snow Canyon, knowing that you're going to get sort of a 15 minute fast descent and rest the legs back into town. So then you come down that fast descent, and instead of turning right onto Snow Canyon Parkway like we did the last time we came down that descent, we just go straight, which is all downhill, onto Bluff Road, onto Diagonal Street, and into the centre of town where the transition is. And that whole section is all downhill. Bluff Road, Diagonal Street, that's all downhill. Okay, so we come out of transition, and I only just found out the other day we actually go uphill first. So we come out of transition and we hang a left. So we head up Main Street, we'd hang a left onto Diagonal Street, which then joins onto Bluff Street. That entire way is uphill. It's the gradient is hard enough to really slow you down. Yeah, there's not much more really else to say about it. It's just a gradual, I don't know how many % gradient it would be. At a guess, I would say an average of like 2%, going uphill all the way. And I'm pretty sure we run on the road and then get onto the bike path at the end of Diagonal Street. So that entire way, literally from the Main Street intersection all the way to the top where you turn left onto Snow Canyon Parkway, is a slight up. Then you turn left onto Snow Canyon Parkway, and going that direction, that's going to be quite a big downhill. Like, I was running easy there today and running 4-minute K pace. So it's definitely a steeper gradient than Diagonal Street and Bluff Street. I'd say like 4% going downhill after you turn left off Bluff Street. And the second loop or section of the course, so you're turning left onto 1300 West after you've come down on Snow Canyon Parkway. And this is just another really long, gradual downhill. And I would say this section is longer than the other section of the course. So I think like it's mostly downhill until you get to around 100 North. It's just, again, a slight gradient downhill. I would say on average about 2% on a bike path. So it's really great surface to run on, sort of some trees and things either side, but you don't really get much shade cover. It's pretty exposed the whole way down. But yeah, slight downhill down to 100 North, and then it kind of flattens out a little bit, but it's still a slight downhill down to Mathis Park Place. And then we run through Mathis Park, and that's basically flat through there, but it's a very short little loop that we do in there. I'd say it's only like 5 minutes running through that park. So then obviously we come out of Mathis Park and turn right and head back up Dixie Drive onto the Washington Trail. And obviously that entire way is a gradual uphill run. So I guess like to give people some perspective, today I was running that section, the Dixie Drive section. My average pace going down was about, this is for a very easy run, like heart rate only 130 BPM. Running super easy. Running down, my pace was about 450 per kilometre pace, and then running back up about 510 per kilometre pace. But heart rate was very low going down and slightly higher coming up, even at the slower pace. So yeah, we head back up to the top, turn right onto Snow Canyon Parkway. And this little like rise on Snow Canyon Parkway is actually the worst part of the course. It's quite steep, really quite steep, that going right onto Snow Canyon Parkway. I mean, it really slows you down. I think my average pace on my easy run was about 540 to 545 per kilometre pace. Running easy, obviously trying to keep my heart rate down. But yeah, it's definitely very steep going up there. But it's not too long, like it's only 2 or 3 minutes sort of running along there. So that's a bonus. And then obviously we turn right onto Bluff Street and then onto Diagonal Street, heading back the opposite way to where we started the course. So that's another really gradual long downhill before we head into town, and then we turn around and do it all again. Just in general on the run course, like it's pretty exposed. You can feel the wind in a few sections, particularly along Dixie Drive. It's really sort of exposed main road along there. And Diagonal Street, if it happens to be windy, and Bluff Street as well. If it happens to be a really windy day, like they're the areas you're going to feel that wind exposure the most. And the sun exposure, like there's not a lot of shade on this course at all. Like it's pretty exposed to the sun and the heat. So I think the key thing to remember on this run course is as soon as we head into transition from the bike, like we are running uphill for literally the first 15 minutes of the run, or the first few kilometers of the run. So I think that's just something really important for everyone to remember, because particularly in an Ironman, like once you get your heart rate out of control, it's very difficult, especially on a warm day, to keep it down. So it's something to be wary of on this run course.